Good morning, Zio here, and today we will continue our coverage on this, what is it? The DHFE. I can't think of the acronym. Anyway, yeah, this lawsuit over here for Blizzard. So, where did we leave off? Oh yeah, I remember. Don't worry, I got it pulled up. So grab yourself some coffee, sit back, relax, and let's get into it, shall we? And there we go. Woo! Anyway, don't forget Friday I will be streaming No Man's Sky over on the Facebook. So if you haven't gone down to the Facebook, down in the Tap My Bio section, you should go over there. Join me over there at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, anyone who wants to come view and visit and all that good stuff will get to help me name all our discoveries as we make our path across the galaxy. Anyway, so this is where we were, right? Whew. This is a decently sized document. It's kind of small compared to other things that we've looked at, other lawsuits and things, but we're diving straight in. So we were right here with 40 women of color were particularly vulnerable targets of the defendant's discrimination practices. An African American employee noted that it took her 2 years to be made into a permanent employee, while men hired after her were made permanent employees. She also was micromanaged such that her male co-workers were known to be playing video games without any intervention by her supervisors. We talked how bad that is. You've got people who are not doing their job and they're just goofing off the entire time, and how that shouldn't be a thing. Anyway, we talked about that yesterday, right? So that's where we were last off. But her supervisors would call and check on her if she took a break to go on walks. Another African American employee who worked on information technology was similarly macromanaged by her managers, unlike the men on her team. When she requested time off of work, her manager made her write a one-page summary of how she would spend the time off of work when no one else would have to do any write-up, and I'm almost positive that might be illegal, especially if it's for medical purposes or anything else like that. You do not have to disclose undetailed information on why you need the time off. It's just, look, I've got a medical thing I need to go to, fuck off, let me on, or let me off, that sort of thing. I hope she notated that somewhere, and has of course naturally put that up to the proper authorities and things, because that's definitely some stuff you probably should definitely bring up evidence to and show that in thing. But to go back on one other thing, would check on her if she takes breaks, if she goes on walks or whatnot and stuff. I hate that. I'm not gonna lie, I worked for a group. I'm not gonna name their names or whatnot, but I will avoid them at all costs. And I worked for them for a total of 2 months before I literally walked off. It was probably the only place I have ever left employment and said I quit, and was like, here's your shit, enjoy. And they were the type to do that sort of thing. If I stopped for just 10 minutes so I could go use the restroom because I was an over-the-road truck driver, right? Somebody somewhere was calling me up going, hey, we see that you have stopped. Is there a reason for that? Yeah, I've got to take a leak. What do you think? And they seem to generally think the person behind the wheel is some kind of robot who never needs to sleep or anything. And it was just a really horrible outfit to ever run with. And the second they got me even a fraction of a close enough to get home that I could call somebody up and say, hey, look, here's an address, come pick me up, I'm going to show up there in about an hour, and I quit this place. That's exactly what I went and did. Because damn, yeah, I hate that. I know it happens. It's happened to me. So yeah, that's my antidote for that. Anyway, when she requested time, she had to do a write-up. The male supervisor also criticized her body language despite her male counterparts slouching in meetings, and she was scolded for asking for assistance while others could get help on similar tasks without the same criticism. Okay. These experiences led female employees to leave their employment with defendants. But yeah, all right then. Anyway, as a result of these discriminatory pay, assignment, promotions, and other practices, defendants' gender pay gap is significant. Oh, I really don't want to get into the whole gender pay thing again. We talked about it a few times yesterday, and yeah, seriously. Let's see, where'd my highlighter go? So we can highlight that. But yeah. I'm sorry if there's a huge gender pay gap. I don't think it's from the top having an issue with you. It might actually just be you never really asked for anything over a certain thing, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, defendants paid female employees significantly less in base pay and total compensation than their male counterparts. This pattern or practice and violations were continuing. And of course, if we know anything about Blizzard to begin with, we know that they pay people significantly less than the industry standard, apparently. So that is something we have known for years. We've talked about it, I think, before here, and something else that had came up where people were like, "Oh my gosh!" and it's like, "Yeah, we've known this." Anyway, yeah, their whole thing for Blizzard is you get the privilege of working at Blizzard, right? Which probably meant something several years ago, but since Activision took over and everything else like that, it really doesn't have that much of a ring to it anymore. I could never justify wanting to work for Blizzard, not with Activision running the reins. Anyway, when women complained to human resource personnel about the lack of equal employment opportunities, especially in compensation to their male counterparts, their complaints fell on deaf ears and were met with an empty promises to investigate the issue. Indeed, despite having retained Paul Hastings LLP from 2015 to 2017 and Miller Law Group in 2018 to allegedly provide analysts related to compensation data, defendants failed to take effective and reasonable steps to prevent pay discrimination, as the pay discrepancy between male and female employees was not remedied and continued. Now, this talks about another thing that I think we should definitely go check out. I'm going to highlight this for me to try and find. And we should check out what those findings are, because that sounds like that would be very interesting. I do remember there was a thing going around at one time that had everybody's like posted, or people were posting what they made and all this other stuff. That may not have been Blizzard, might have been somebody else. Or Activision. I don't quite remember which company it came from. Might have been EA, who knows. But if there was an investigation and an issue already, and there's law documents on it, either if it was not followed, I'm going to go and assume that either A, it wasn't actually happening the way that they claimed it to be, or B, there was just no significant anything to warrant any change in the way they do things. A lot of this likes to talk about lack of opportunities and employment opportunities and no up the chain sort of thing, but at the same time, this is covering the past 2 years, and last I checked, people don't just swap leadership positions on a dime constantly when it comes to a lot of these companies. Mike Morhaime was the president of Blizzard all the way up to like 2018. That was the entire lifetime of that company for the most part until J. Allen Brack came in and replaced him when he left. This idea that they weren't promoting, this, that, and the other. it isn't exactly for the lack of, I would say it's not the lack of, or it's not because they don't want to. It's the fact that there's a lack of actual spots, right? Uh, we did go and we looked at what the current main team for Blizzard is, which does have some women in there. It's got some guys in there. It's got people of various shades and colors, kind of. Um, but for the most part, these changes don't happen constantly, right? How often does the chief executive officer of a company change? When it does happen, you hear about it naturally, right? It's talking the news. CEO so and so has resigned or has left the company or something like that. But yeah, a lot of these leadership positions don't really change unless there's something that's like, you've got, say you've got the bottom employee, right, of a position, and then you have the floor super, essentially, right? You've got that person who manages this, that, and the other, and then above them they've got like the actual, say, maybe department manager or something of the thing, and then above that, they've got various levels of different things, all the way up to the assistant manager, and then the manager, and then the manager's manager happens to be a thing, and then that manager's manager, regional manager or whatnot, becomes a thing, and all this other stuff. These people don't interchange constantly, is what I'm trying to get at. So this idea that people weren't promoted all the way up the chain, realistically speaking, it doesn't happen anyway. Right? This whole thing talks about a lot of how their male counterparts got promoted to other positions, but until they put some actual number or words or something to tell us where these positions were they just moved from data analyst to super of the data analyst for this small group in Montreal or something like that. Montreal. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. It's hard to justify or hard to even figure out what it is, because it sounds like there's a revolving door that we just don't know about, right? Like there's some kind of management position that is constantly revolving with people in and out, people dropping out, people quitting the company, people leaving the company. And we do know that they've fired a ton of people too in the past few years after, after doing some major profits and stuff like that. Or at least on the Activision side. Oh gosh. Yeah, got the hiccups and I don't have enough coffee. I should have refilled before I started recording. But anyway, as a result of these discrimination practices, female employees were forced to leave their employment with defendants. And people have been leaving there for years, not just women, but okay. For example, female employees noted that they accepted less compensation than they were making in their prior employment, or offered by other companies to work for defendant with the hollow promise that they would get promoted or get other forms of compensation to make up the difference. They never made up ground and instead had to watch male counterparts were promoted more quickly and offered more compensation, forcing them to leave the company. Now, as we were saying, Blizzard does not pay the industry standard. We already know this. This is not unique to the women of the company, just saying. But yeah, as for Activision stuff having some questionable things, we have documented that in the past. Blizzard responds to former employees' accusations of racism, for instance, and this was 2019. This here was an article. There's a reason, we'll get to it, why I was searching for anything on this, but former Blizzard employee pins posts alleging racism and abuse. This is from 2019, of course. Still, it's the same guy as the last one we were just looking at, but he talks about the different things that had happened, where he himself had been discriminated. It's just not a female issue here, but and essentially, planned to commit self-deletion, can't remember if I can say that word or not, back in December 2017. But yeah, so that is a problem with Activision Blizzard that we have known about for years. It is not unique to female employees, as this whole document is trying to make out. But you know, it's a thing we've known about. Anyway, additionally, defendants terminated female employees more quickly than their male counterparts. This pattern or practices and violations were continued. Again, we're going to have to see a lot of why things were done, right? We don't know exactly what happened between things. We can make the claim that so-and-so company terminates female employees more often than males. But why they are terminated is a completely different thing, and we can also make the inverse of a company, of course, that males are terminated more than this, that, and the other, but without some actual data to go into and see. It's really hard to really hard to justify anything based on that. In sum, defendants' discriminatory practices adversely affect women in compensation, assignment, promotion, and termination. And I guarantee I could probably make the argument that it's the adverse of that too, but whatever. Defendants failed to take effective steps to remedy or adequately correct its compensation disparities, despite its awareness that such disparities existed. Well, they did fire like 500 people, back in 2019 or something. So I think they did take steps to do that, but that was bad too. Anyway, defendants' discriminatory practices continue to the date of this complaint. And then we move into the actoral harassment thing, which I'm not sure if I can say that word either. We're on page 14 of 29, and we even skipped quite a bit of the legal stuff up into this part. So this is where we are going to end this particular video. We will come back to this and look over all of the harassment complaints. I wonder how long this actually lasts, because this is going to be interesting. Let's see. Oh, I think it just goes down to 48 for that part. But yeah, we will definitely be looking at that in the next one. So let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will talk to you later.